We're all happy to save a few pounds where we can, including in our food bill. And as Nick Baker's been finding out, we could all be enjoying gourmet treats that are free, delicious and wild.
For most of us, stocking up on ingredients for dinner is as simple as popping to the supermarket. But not so for forager Caroline Davey. Her supermarket is the hedgerows, seashores and woods of West Cornwall. Now, wild food is something I've always wanted to learn more about, so I'm joining her on a foraging expedition where we're going to collect enough food for the whole day. Wild food kind of has these connotations of, fairly basic sort of, when there's nothing else to eat, that's what you turn to, really grubby and basic food.
Yeah.
Is it?
It can be, if you want it to be. There's so many edible plants out there. Some of them are pretty disgusting, but there's a huge range of plants out there that are absolutely delicious. And at one time in history were important vegetables that have just been forgotten about.
Do you just sort of go out on a whim and just see what catches your, tickles your fancy, as it were?
I have a mental list in my head and I know where to go, but if we find other things on the way, so for instance mushrooms, you can never guarantee you'll find them, but if we find them, then fantastic.
Well, I have to say I'm really excited by this for lots of reasons, so I guess we better get going.
Yeah, let's go on a treasure hunt.
We're starting just a stone's throw from Caroline's house. She assures me there's something delicious in this field, but I'm struggling to see anything that looks like lunch. To me, this looks like the cows have had the best.
Well, there's still quite a lot left, and actually what we're looking for is burdock, and there's loads of burdock in this field.
So I'm familiar with this again as a flavouring for dandelion and burdock sort of fizzy drinks.
Yeah.
Is that actually burdock in those?
Yeah, it's a burdock root, but it would be dry roasted and ground up for flavouring, but it's a fantastic vegetable.
Right, okay, so how do we go about this? You're the expert on this, of course. So how far down will this root go?
I don't know, because I've never dug a whole one up. But it's narrowing, isn't it? So we must be getting there. I start to see the root now. See?
Yeah.
He's done it.
Is it the whole? I don't think it's the whole one. I think a bit snapped off.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh, isn't that a beautiful thing? It took some elbow grease, but we've got our first ingredient.
I'm feeding you today, aren't I?
That's taken us how long? Wow, that's so good. That was worth doing.
Yeah.
And Caroline doesn't go far before she spots some more tasty morsels. This looks like a sort of, well, it's a Cornish hedgerow.
Yeah.
Kind of at its worst. So it's not, it's the time of year, everything's a little bit over. But you're looking at this and seeing a kind of a menu. So what can you utilise here?
Well, actually, it's not when everything's over. Everything's starting to grow again.
Really?
Yeah, so autumn, we've got new fresh growth of sorrel here.
What's that?
Well, it's cow parsley, or wild chervil. Sounds a bit more coloury.
Oh, right, OK. Now, this is quite important. This is one of that huge family of flowers that we see in hedgerows called the umbellifers, right?
Yep.
Now, aren't some of those deadly poisonous?
They are, yep. There's hemlock waterdropwort, which is the most poisonous plant in this country and the most common. So it's the family you need to have most respect for and know 100% identification before you eat it.
So how do you know that's chervil, a common chervil?
I know because it grows in the right habitat, it's got the right leaf, it's hairy, it's got the right smell, the right taste. If I saw something like that growing in a wet place or a ditch, I would avoid it like the plague.
Well, that's reassuring. I hope she's not trying to finish me off.
There's
stuff here.
Here it is.
So this is navelwort, right?
Navelwort. Some people call it wall pennywort.
So this is a West Country classic. You see it in all our sort of southwesterly walls. It's a beautiful little plant, easily recognised because it looks like it's got a belly button.
And the Latin is umbilicus rupestris, so it's definitely the umbilical.
I'm learning so much. So what do you do with this?
Salads.
It's a salad as well. Well, lunch is well on the way, but Caroline's keen to stop off at a nearby wood to hunt out some of this season's finest delicacies, fungi.
These are slippery jacks, a member of the Boletus family.
Right, okay.
So same family as sep. Not quite as good eating as sep.
The name slippery jack kind of puts me off a little bit, so I assume that refers to this sort of glossy cap.
Slimy top, yeah. And you don't want to eat the top, you really need to be peeling it.
Oh look, you literally just, it really does, you can skin it, look at that. Oh, look at that underneath, look at the colours. So that's now non-slippery jack, look. There's been some controversy over commercial large-scale foraging disturbing the ecological balance. But for Caroline, it's all about sustainable foraging, and that means not being greedy.
Only take enough for yourself, don't take everything. I never take more than 30 to 40% of one single plant. I always leave it to keep growing.
Luckily, that doesn't apply to fungi, so we can take as much as we need. Now, it's back to Caroline's kitchen to cook it all up. Caroline's adding some locally caught wild pigeon breast to our burdock root, fungi and hedgerow salad, all served with some blackberries from the garden. Oh my goodness me, just look at that. That looks absolutely beautiful. I can't believe this is just the stuff that we've foraged for around the house, effectively.
Yep.
Right, there's no point just looking at it. You've got to dive in and taste it. Let's work our way through the ingredients. So this here that's the burdock.
That's the burdock you dug
out.
up. Yep. Quite earthy, isn't it?
Wonderful. And this is the sorrel.
That's some sorrel. Yep.
That's all right. I don't want to mix it up with the other flavours yet, because I'm very intrigued by the pennyworth.
Yep.
You know, it's always tempting when you're watching this sort of thing at home, thinking he's making it up. It must be horrible, but it's not. It's absolutely exquisite.
It's totally virtuous food.
Really? Well, I seem to have survived the first course, but there's no rest for the avid forager. So we're heading to Godrevy Beach to find some beautiful, briny treats for dinner.
Certainly is, yeah.
So these are mussels, right?
These are mussels, yeah.
So, right, what size are we harvesting?
You want to go for the largest ones,
Right.
really, up to about 5 centimetres if you can.
Okay.
And leave the small ones to grow to have a bit of a life.
Right, better get foraging. The mussels are bountiful on this beach, but again, it's all about sustainability. We're being very selective and picking just enough for our own dinner.
But it's not just mussels we can eat on these rocks. I mean, there are other shellfish. Have you ever had limpets before?
I haven't, no. Now, I'm a bit fond of limpets, and I know for a fact they take a long time to mature. So,
Yeah.
from a conservation point of view, which ones can you select? You know, what's the best way of choosing them?
Well, it's best not to pick all the big ones. Pick some little ones as well.
Right, okay. So, getting them off the rocks.
You only really get one chance at a limpet. If you mess up the first go, then they just cling on so tight that you'll never get them off again.
Right, now, how are you getting them off?
Well, I
How
use
do you
a
get them off?
knife.
Right.
I look for an area of vulnerability between the shell and
You sneak up on a vulnerable limpet?
rock. Yeah, I do. And I get my knife blade in and I get it off.
Oh. Look at that.
Now, you don't get much fresher than this. They're straight into the pan. And with these shellfish, Caroline's rustling up a seafood pasta.
Smells great.
And the limpets, that's all these wild herbs in there as well.
Look at that, wild food like you've never seen it before.
Now, we often talk about the importance of a sense of place, but the one sense we don't really refer to often is your sense of taste. And today I feel I've got a proper sense of place. All 5 of my senses have been totally engaged all day. And what a way to end such a day, tucking into this whilst looking at this. Absolutely fantastic.
This is definitely slow food, and most of us might not have the time to go foraging like this very often. But next time I go for a walk, I'll definitely be taking my basket.
Inside this building